Today we're going to talk about a multiplication algorithm that might be new to most fourth grade students, and that is the partial products method of multiplication. Some fourth grade students may be familiar with the traditional method of multiplication, and again, we're just putting another tool into our toolbox. We're recognizing that there's multiple ways to a correct answer, and some students eventually do end up preferring the partial products method of multiplication. Others believe it's too time-consuming, but others like the fact that partial products method allows us to break sometimes more difficult math problems into easier multiplication problems, and then adding up our partial products. So first I'll introduce you to a partial products problem where we have a two-digit number, for instance 54 times, let's say 6. So 54 times 6. With partial products, we take multiplication sort of a different route. We take our first digit and we multiply it by the furthest left digit. And what we're really sort of thinking over here, I'll try and draw a cloud. This is sort of what we're thinking in our head, what we should be looking at. This is 6, not times 5, but 6 times what? What place value is the 5 in? It's actually in the tens place. So really what we're doing is 6 times 50. And 6 times 50, many students see it as an easier math problem because we're very familiar with the math fact that 6 times 5 is 30, but we have a 0 in one of our factors, so our product actually has to add a 0 to the end of that. So 6 times 50 is 300. The next step is that we'll take our 6 and we'll multiply it by the 4. And again, the 4 is in the ones place, so this portion of the partial products method is just 6 times 4. And 6 times 4 is 24. And it's really important that over here we line up our digits correctly in the correct place value so that we can add up our partial products. So 0 plus 4 is 4, 0 plus 2 is 2, and 3 plus 0 is 3. So our final product is 324. 324 would be our answer. Let's take a look at another problem, maybe a more challenging problem. What if we multiplied 132 times 6? Again, the partial products method starts with the digit furthest to the left at the bottom, and we multiply it by our factor. But again, we start moving all the way over to the left-hand side. And again, over here, this cloud represents our thinking. And I suggest that students always write out their work, especially early on. But as students get more familiar with the partial products method, much of this thinking can be done in our head. So that is why we have the thought bubble over here on the right. So again, our first step is to take 6, and it's not times 1, right? That's a common mistake that students make. They'll make 6 times 1. The 1 is in the hundreds place, so it is we have 100. 6 times 100 is rather easy for students to solve. That's just simply 600. Our next step is to take this 6 and multiply it by the next leading digit, which would be the 3. But again, it's not just 3, it's not 6 times 3, it's 6 times, well, we have 3 tens, that would be 30, right? 6 times 30. And again, the math fact is rather easy now. Now we just need to know, what is 6 times 3? Well, 6 times 3 is 18, and we have a 0 in one of our factors, so we need to add a 0 to the end of our product right there, our partial product. The final step now is to go, again, back to our 6 and multiply it by the next leading digit, or the final digit, which is 2. The 2 is in the ones place, so it's 6 times 2, and 6 times 2, that's an easy math fact that we should have memorized, is 12. And finally, we simply add up all of our partial products. Again, it's very, very important that we line up all of our partial products, here, ensuring that we get our place value and our addition correct. So again, now we will go ahead and simply add our partial products. We have 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2, 0 plus 8 plus 1 is 9, and 6 plus 1 is 7. So our final product is 792. So our answer is 792. Finally, we can move into some more challenging problems. So for instance, if we were multiplying 68 times 79. This is a challenging problem for most fourth graders. Again, some believe that the traditional method of multiplication is faster, but the partial products method makes these sort of ugly numbers, 68 and 79, those are kind of ugly numbers. Kind of breaks these into more pretty, easier numbers to manipulate and multiply together, and that's why some fourth grade students end up preferring the partial products method. The partial products method always starts with our leading digit, and that's important to remember. So we don't start with a 9 here as we do in the traditional algorithm, but partial products asks us to start with the leading digit always. So we take the 7 here in the tens place, and we multiply straight up to the 6, which is also in the tens place in one of our factors. Now it's important, is this 7 ones? It's not 7 ones, it's 7 tens. So actually, this is 70 times, not 6 ones, but 6 tens. So it's 70 times 60. I hope that you guys can see that, 70 times 60. And the only math fact that we need to know is, what is 6 times 7? Right? So what is 6 times 7? Well, 6 times 7 is 42, and we've got 2 zeros total in our factors, so we add 2 zeros to the partial product here. The next step, again, we stay with our leading digit. We stay with our leading digit, 7, and now we multiply it by the 8 in 68. Again, the 7 is in the tens place, so that's 70. And the 8 is in the ones place, so it's just 70 times 8. 70 times 8 is a rather easy multiplication problem because we know what 7 times 8 is, and 7 times 8 is 56. Thank you. 56, and we've got a 0 in one of our factors, so we add a 0 to one of the end of our partial products. Next, we are done. Now we're done with the 7, right? We've multiplied the 7 in the tens place by both place values, the tens and the ones place value. So now we're done with the 7. So now let's take a look at the 9 in the ones place. So the 9 in the ones place needs to be multiplied by the 6 in the tens place. So we have 9, and again, it's not times 6, it's times 60, because the 6 is in the tens place. 9 times 60 is, or 9 times 6 is 54. We recognize we've got a 0 in one of our factors, so we add a 0 to our partial product. And we're still not done with our 9, because now we, again, need to take the 9 in the ones place, and we need to multiply it straight up to the 8 in the ones place. And that's simply 9 times 8. Because remember, both 9 and 8 are in the ones place. So 9 times 8, that is 72. And you can see how neat I was in making sure that I add up all of my, or line up all of my partial products so that my place values line up. So again, in the ones place, we're left with a sum of 2. We've got 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 7 is 17, carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. And then, so that's going to be 13, carry the 1, 1 plus 4 is 5. So our answer is 5,372. Again, this is the partial products method of multiplication. It can be a bit challenging at times because this is a stretch away from the traditional method of multiplication. But as you can see, it can actually make a multiplication problem that might initially deal with kind of ugly numbers, difficult numbers to multiply together, and break them into partial products or break them down into smaller pieces, and allows these partial products to eventually be added up. It's a really important way to introduce multiplication because it's got a huge focus on place value. Again, this might not be your first or your favorite method of multiplication in the end, but again, it's an important tool to have in our toolbox as mathematicians and be familiar with why this process, why this algorithm works. Thank you.